This was an old-fashioned revolution, fighting on the streets and a bitter struggle for power as the Romanian people rose up against Nicolae Ceausescu and the communist regime that had controlled their lives. 1989 was a year of change in Eastern Europe, but this was dramatically different. This was a revolution that was broadcast live on television. The citizens of Romania were able to watch events that would lead to the downfall and execution of their one-time dictator. This was a demonstration of the power of the media. It was also the story of ordinary working people finding themselves in an extraordinary situation at the very centre of events that would change the course of history. This is the Romanian TV station, and that Christmas, this was the most important building in the country. Everyone wanted to control it. People were even willing to spill blood to occupy it. The studios, where they would usually broadcast the daily news, heavily controlled by the Communist Party, were suddenly at the centre of the biggest news story in the world. Back in 1989, Victor Ionescu was a political reporter and newsreader.
Well, better I like to see in Romanian coalition government.
Now retired, he told me before the revolution, Ceausescu's Communist Party officials controlled everything that appeared on the news.
It's normal. The TV station and all the media in Romania was controlled by the states, by the party and party people.
When mass protests against the dictator presented an opportunity to broadcast without state control, back at the studios, it was seized despite the risk of reprisals.
We are very motivated to present a new Romania, to announce a new Romania. But in facts, it was difficult because we have no clothes to change. We sleep on the floor.
Sanda Conteniescu was an engineer at TVR. Letting the world know what was happening in Romania was so important to her, she slipped through a gun battle to get into work.
There were shootings around the television, so I had to come into the television between all these shootings, and I have to say that it was quite dangerous, because one of my colleagues I knew from my beginnings in the television was simply shot down in this day.
Having thrown out the communist officials who used to decide what they could say, Free Romanian Television, as it now called itself, was able to broadcast a more factual picture of what was happening in the country. Studio 4 was used to tell Romania and the world that the communists were being defeated. It is not used much these days, as the TV station has been updated, but it is preserved by people who are proud of its history and all it has come to represent. The people who worked here were ordinary journalists and technicians, with families in Bucharest. They knew they were taking a huge risk by telling the country about the growing opposition to Ceausescu. They knew his followers and secret police would strike back, and that's exactly what happened. The television station was attacked by forces still loyal to the old regime. The building was now being protected by some soldiers who had joined the revolution. It was a fierce battle. A team from ITV News, led by reporter Paul Davies, was there and saw it happen.
This battle has now been going on for almost 24 hours, but despite all their firepower, the troops are not able to winkle out those men still loyal to Ceausescu. If anything, the fighting intensifies as the day wears on. Both sides obviously seeing control of the state television service as vital to their cause. Not only are the studios now being used as a headquarters by the new government of National Salvation, but prisoners, including former ministers and close aides of the deposed President Ceausescu, are being brought here to be interrogated.
Returning to Bucharest this summer, Paul Davis remembered Christmas 1989 and the people he shared it with.
When my crew arrived here on the night of December the 22nd, we spent most of the time sheltering under an armoured car with bullets bouncing off it. We were later during the night taken into the TV station, and my abiding memory, apart from the danger and the bullets of course, is of the kindness that we were shown by the people who worked inside there. Now, they were just ordinary people, just like me and my crew. There were journalists, there were engineers, there were technicians, and they'd somehow found themselves in the centre of this extraordinary event.
Elmarie Ionescu was on holiday with her family when the revolution started. She left her son with relatives to return to her job, helping foreign journalists send their reports out of the country.
There were shootings all the time. It was dangerous, but we didn't think about danger. We were happy that something would change.
These pictures were filmed on the night of December the 22nd, when the communist forces tried to storm the TV station and stop the flow of uncontrolled information. All of those I spoke to said they wondered if they would see the next day.
We didn't know what happens. We were with some journalists, as I told you, and there were shootings all the time, so we had to lay down because there were shootings above our heads.
We don't sleep. We think about the future. What will be tomorrow? What will be better, or we come back, and they, communists, come back in the force.
There were shootings. I don't know because I was here with in this room with all these teams, TV teams from all over Europe, and I couldn't go out. But there were already soldiers on the corridor, on the technical corridors. The light was broken on the corridor, so it was really bad on this night. But well, we were decided to be here. We wanted that the situation be known in all the Europe.
Were you ever worried that you might not survive?
Yes, because it was not quite sure that that things will go as we hoped. So of course we were. I was speaking with my colleague Mikhail that it was very clear if the things won't go as we hoped, we could be shut down without any problem, to say so.
The attempt to silence what was now being called Free Romanian TV failed because thousands of other ordinary people, most of them unarmed, gathered outside the building to protect it.
All the ages, younger and older, women and men. The most important part of these people have nothing, no arms, but they come and are so many people in front of television, and they stay here to protect us, to protect the message of the future.
Most people in Romania at that time were in constant fear of Ceausescu's secret police. The police had tunnels leading into every important building in the city, and people in the TV station were in constant fear that the police would suddenly arrive inside their building.
These pictures show workers and soldiers inside the TV station, pointing guns at the lifts, scared that the secret police were inside. Despite constant fear, they worked on.
Why was it important for you to do your job during the revolution?
Because simply we felt that we have to be here in a way to to go further with this idea to finish with Ceausescu's regime.
Were you worried about your friends and family during all this?
The family was all our friends, all the family, our families were against the Ceausescu regime.
Why was it so important to have control of the TV station at this time?
The Romanian TV station have made it, if you don't know, the first revolution live, transmission live, non-stop, all times during the many days. And practically all the Romanian, it depend of the information distributed from TV station.
Were you aware of the importance of the TV station?
Yes, we were. We were, because that's why we remained here about 1 month. We stayed one month in the TV station.
During that time, she only managed to see her young son once.
On the 5th of January, I remember, was his birthday, and when we went during the night at home to give him his present, and came back to the TV station. Yes, the others, they were concerned about their children, because I don't know if they had somebody to look after them.
By showing the country that the dictator was gone and Romania was under new leadership, the television people believed they played an important role in preventing prolonged fighting and loss of life.
What this TV station lived through in the Christmas of 1989 is probably unique in broadcasting history. Not only were they reporting the news, they were making it as well. The sad thing for many of those people is that the bright new future they thought they were welcoming in never fully materialized.
We hoped a lot, but unfortunately it wasn't what we hoped.
The hopes of the people, generally speaking, were very big, but it was quite clear that it was not possible to have everything like we hoped.
Looking back, it is quite disappointing, really, because a lot of the senior party people who'd controlled the TV station here, well, they disappeared as Ceausescu was overthrown, but in the weeks and the months that followed, many of them returned. Some of them even got back into their positions of power and started to re-exert some of the old ways, some of the old rules. It was better, what they had here, but it wasn't the dream of complete freedom that everybody had been thinking of that Christmas in 1989.
Victor Ionescu, for many years political editor at TVR, says moving on after Ceausescu was slow and often painful.
The new leadership, it was a lot of old men for former regime, for communist country, communist party, and they have some fixed idea, no change in mind, not sufficient change, and was a difficult and a long period of transition in Romania. It's not finished yet. It's not finished.